I always considered myself a calm person. Not too confrontational. Not the type to make a mountain out of a molehill. But when I think back on the last 3 years of my marriage, it sometimes feels like I was living in a psychological thriller. No flashy special effects. No obvious crime. Just a slow, daily shift toward paranoia, self-blame, and complete emotional exhaustion. This isn't a story about traditional abuse or outright cruelty. It's a story about emotional enmeshment, when one person, in my case, my mother-in-law, becomes so deeply embedded in another person's private life, my husband's, that everyone else is pushed out. Even his wife. I didn't realize what was happening at first. Everything seemed normal. She wasn't attacking me with fists, she didn't scream, "Divorce her." She didn't curse me like in some cheap soap opera. But something felt off. Her voice echoed in our apartment more often than mine. Her advice weighed more than my requests. Her phrase, "Oh, he likes it this way," dismantled any attempt of mine to say, "Let's try something different." We didn't literally share a bed with her. But it felt like she was always there. In our home. In our conversations. In our most intimate moments. Even when we visited her, it was like she expected her son not as a guest, but as something she owned. And me? Just a temporary inconvenience. It wasn't frightening. It was disgusting. And worst of all, it was slow. Part 1. I met Artem through mutual friends, university, shared interests, coffee shops. He was sweet. Caring. Never refused to help. Always listened when someone needed to vent. I liked that sensitivity. I didn't realize it came with a cost. After 3 months of dating, we started spending nights together. 6 months later, we moved in. I was happy. But very quickly I realized, it wasn't just the 2 of us in the apartment. It was 3. Me, him, and his mother on the phone. She called every single day. Sometimes twice, 3 times, even 4. At first I thought, well, she just cares. I wasn't against it. But her calls weren't, "How are you?" They immediately turned into complaints. "Artem, you won't believe it, my heart acted up again today." Her voice would tremble. I didn't know what to do. Thought I might collapse. But then I remembered you, and it eased a little. "Mom, did you call the doctor?" "Why? It passed." "What matters is that you listened. When you're near, I feel better." Sometimes these conversations lasted an hour. Even when we went to bed, she'd call just to say goodnight, then start another story, about the old neighbor, about Artem's childhood, about her lonely evenings. "Do you remember how you used to stroke my hand when I was sad?" She'd ask while I lay beside him, turning away into my pillow. I tried to stay calm. I thought, maybe that's just how their family works. But every time Artem came out of those calls emotionally drained, and I felt tense and invisible, I started noticing the first cracks. A mother is supposed to be part of a life. But not the center of gravity of an entire marriage. Part 2. We had been dating for over 2 years when he proposed. It was beautiful, a dinner at home, my favorite candles, our old university playlist playing softly, a small ring with a trembling hand holding it out to me. I said yes without needing words. My tears spoke for me. And the first person he called was his mom. "Mom, we're engaged," he said proudly, glowing with joy. Silence. Then, a cold voice. "Oh well, congratulations. Was this your decision, or were you kind of pushed into it?" I didn't need to hear anything more. She didn't take me seriously. I was just a girl, a fling, temporary. And now, a threat. The wedding planning started on a high note. We chose a small garden venue, agreed on a modest guest list. But his mother inserted herself before anyone asked for help. She texted Artem daily. "Are you sure you want to celebrate it that way? Who's paying for the cake? Her. Do you want me on the second row, or at least on the first, as the mother?" While my mom was picking out a modest dress, his mom ordered a designer outfit. Not white, just a light cream. "It's just an elegant ivory," she insisted, while sending over photos as if daring me to object. At the wedding, she didn't cause a scene. But her behavior was unsettling. She shadowed Artem all evening. fixing his tie, smoothing his hair. During our first dance, she stepped forward, right into the photographer's line of sight. "Oh, I just wanted to get a closer look," she chirped later when we reviewed the photos and saw her face blocking our moment. When guests came over to greet us, she somehow managed to wedge herself into nearly every photo. At first, I thought it was just coincidence. Then I saw the pattern. Every time someone stood next to me, she'd circle around and place herself next to him, sometimes holding his hand or slipping her arm around his. "Can I at least be close to him today?" she joked to me. But it wasn't a joke. That was the moment I realized I wasn't his wife. I was the other woman. Part 3. After the wedding, we moved to another city. We had a small but bright apartment, on a corner with low ceilings, old doors, and a second-hand couch. We were genuinely happy to start our new life independently, together, without supervision. And that's exactly why I froze when, 2 weeks later, Artem said, "Mom sent us a food package." Through the bus driver. She said we should go pick it up. I was taken aback. I thought it was a one-time thing. She was just used to taking care of him, didn't know how to let go. But then it became a regular ritual. Every week. Every single week. The intercity bus driver on the Khmelnytsky-Lviv route would hand us a package. Inside, a 3-liter jar of borscht, fried liver, braised cabbage, homemade jam, which Artem hadn't eaten since he was 12, and without fail, a note. On a small slip of paper, her tiny handwriting. "This is for Artem. You can heat it up for him if you have time. Careful not to oversalt. He doesn't like that," smiley face. Or worse. "I don't know how you cook, but my son is used to homemade meals. Don't be offended, I just want to make sure he's not hungry." I didn't throw those notes away. I didn't rip them up. I just put them in a box. There was something passive-aggressive in them, like each one was a subtle reminder that I wasn't the real woman of the house. Artem didn't see the problem. "Come on, she's just trying to help. That's how she shows love. Don't you think she's helping you, not us?" "Well, I'm her son." And then it got even more interesting. One day I made a new recipe, pasta with cashew and spinach sauce. Artem ate it and then, without a hint of malice, said, "It's nice. But Mom adds more spices." She used to make this kind of pasta for me back in school. I sat across from him, silent. He didn't notice. In that moment, I wasn't jealous of the food. I was jealous of the warmth she received from him because of it. The kind I couldn't recreate. Those jars became a symbol of our marriage. I could love him, care for him, try to build a new reality with him, and she would still send canned memories from the past. And somehow, her flavor always won. Part 4. When we visited her, we always stayed the night. We helped in the garden, fixed things around the house, carried old stuff down from the balcony. She had her own bedroom, and she'd give us a separate room, Artem's old childhood room. His old bed was still there, a shelf full of dinosaur books, and on the nightstand, his very first childhood drawing still lay there. It felt a bit awkward to sleep there, but I thought it's just a few days, no big deal. Until the first night. We got into bed. I cuddled up to him and whispered something sweet. A light kiss. Dim light. And suddenly, knock knock knock. 3 short taps on the wall beside the bed. We froze. Artem squeezed my hand. "Probably something fell," he said. I nodded, though I knew it hadn't. The next night, the same thing. Again, when we simply tried to be close. As soon as we got close in bed, we'd hear it from the other side of the wall. Knock. 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 Not loud. Not angry. But intentional. Then came the kitchen sounds, the kettle being placed, the clinking of cups, the rustle of dishes. Around 1 a.m. "Maybe she just can't sleep?" Artem suggested. But I saw her eyes the next morning. She knew exactly what she was doing. And she was proud of it. Those sounds became a symbol for me. I'm here. Don't forget. This is my house. And my son. Part 5. After a year of living together, relatives started asking about kids. And Artem's mom moved on to a new level of interference. One day, When Artem casually mentioned that I'd gone for a routine checkup, she immediately called. Tell her to go see my doctor. He's really good, trustworthy. He'll tell her everything honestly. I politely thanked her but declined. And that's when it began. What is she afraid of? She asked. He understands the female body, not like these young ones nowadays. After my firm refusal, she told Artem. Well, fine. But don't be surprised if you two don't end up having kids. Maybe she's hiding something. Soon after, I started receiving random advice from her sisters and friends. One of them even slipped. Well, if it's already been a year and nothing's happened, maybe something's wrong with her? Artem refused to believe that his mom could be spreading rumors. She's not like that. She's just concerned. She's destroying my reputation in your family. I exploded. And once again, he stayed silent. His silence hurt more than her words ever could. Part 6. My mother-in-law had a real talent, showing up exactly when she was least needed. For example, right before a planned vacation, she suddenly fell. Twisted her ankle on a flat surface. Artem cancelled the trip. I didn't say anything, but my teeth clenched so hard I thought they'd crack. When I asked him to stay home for the weekend, she'd call crying. I'm so scared in the evenings. So many stories on the news about break-ins. And no one ever stops by. One day I asked him, don't you think she's forcing you to choose? Maybe. He shrugged. But I can't just leave her alone. I nodded. But inside I was boiling. And me, I'm okay to leave? Then there was another moment. We had a fight. I cried. He called her, just to vent. And instead of giving advice, she said, I've always said she's emotionally unstable. That conversation changed everything. I realized that to her, I wasn't her son's partner. I was a threat. And to him, I was starting to become a burden. She was a master manipulator. And the worst part? She did it all without raising her voice. No shouting, no swearing. She played the softest strings, guilt, pity, a sense of family duty. She twisted reality just enough to make you doubt not her, but yourself. When Artem and I planned our first trip together after the wedding, just a short 3-day mountain getaway, she fell again. Not from the 3rd floor. Just twisted her ankle. Don't worry kids, I'll manage, she said on the phone. But if you do go, it's okay. I'll just sit here alone. Maybe the neighbor will bring me something. And Artem, immediately. Should we reschedule? It's just a trip. I couldn't hold it anymore. Don't you see this isn't the first time? Well, she really did fall. And it really only happens when you're about to be happy without her? He didn't answer. Same story during the holidays. We planned to invite my parents over for Christmas. And the day before, a call. Artyomchik, my blood pressure was so high today. My heart was tight. And I had this horrible dream, that you were leaving me. After that, he called her twice a day. The holiday mood evaporated. We sat with my parents, and he reached for his phone every 40 minutes. My mother glanced at me with quiet sympathy. I just smiled and poured more compote. There was one day I still remember with pain. It had been a hard week, a crisis at work, a cold, and on top of it all, a late period. I was on the edge. We had another fight, again because of her. She told Artem I'd been too emotional lately. He repeated it to me. And I exploded. Maybe I'm emotional because I live under constant surveillance from your mother. He walked out. Called her. Half an hour later, she called me directly. For the first time ever. I didn't mean to come between you two. I'm just worried that you're not letting him grow. He used to be different before you. He used to laugh more. I couldn't breathe for a second. Do you know why he doesn't laugh? Because you keep reminding him he should feel guilty whenever he's happy. I just love my son, she replied quietly. Is that a crime? I hung up. And stared at the wall for several minutes. That wasn't a phone call. It was an emotional torpedo. And in that moment I understood, she wouldn't stop. She didn't scream, didn't hit, but she kept pressing. With tears. Memories. Guilt disguised as care. And I couldn't breathe anymore. Part 7. One time, my husband and I had a fight. Just a regular argument. Domestic. Ordinary. I forgot to update our shared expense spreadsheet, he forgot to pay the internet bill, I pointed it out, he snapped, and it escalated. I don't remember the exact words. But I remember the tone. I remember how his eyes turned cold, and mine, wet. You always think you have to control everything. He shouted. And you always shift responsibility. Because you're used to your mom doing everything for you. I snapped. Silence. He grabbed his jacket and left. I stood alone in the kitchen, staring at the screen, the word invoice blinking back at me. An hour passed. He didn't return. 2 hours. I checked his location. He was standing at the bus stop. 3 hours. He came back. With a suitcase in hand. I was curled up in a blanket in the living room. My throat burned from unsaid words. He walked silently to the bedroom and opened the closet. Are you leaving? I asked, though I already knew the answer. Mom said I can come stay. She says she'd feel better if I stayed close for a while. Says it'll help me clear my head. He didn't look at me. He was rolling up t-shirts into his suitcase. So you're going to clear your head about us, while living at her place? He didn't answer. You know, I said slowly, if you go to your mother's right now, you're not coming back to our home. Because it'll become mine. Without you. Without the constant shadow of her presence. I got up, walked over to him, and grabbed the zipper of the suitcase. The choice is simple, Artem. Either we're a team, or you go back to being her little boy. I can't be married to someone who runs to his mother every time something goes wrong. He stood in silence for a long time. Then slowly let go of the suitcase and sat on the edge of the bed. His face looked exhausted. His eyes, empty. I just don't want to lose her, he said. And me? I whispered. You've almost lost me already. He didn't go. We never unpacked that suitcase. It stood by the door for days. A silent reminder. You were on the edge. We were on the edge. And from that moment, I started making a plan. Not to escape. But to stand my ground. To show him, I'm not a shadow. I'm not temporary. I'm the woman he chose. And if his mother can't understand that, then I'll just have to make it clear. Part 8. We were preparing for Artem's birthday. He was turning 32. I ordered a special cake with his favorite chocolate ganache, handwrote the name cards for each guest, and booked a cozy venue at a riverside cafe. I wanted him to feel that we could be together again, without the shadow. And he did look happy. Until she walked in. She arrived early. Half an hour before anyone else. Wearing an elegant dark green suit, hair perfectly styled, red lipstick screaming, I'm important. Sweetheart, I ordered your favorite dumplings. She announced, not even greeting me. We already chose the menu, Mom, Artem replied, trying to smile politely. Then cancel it. It's his day. She shot back, taking a seat beside him, nearly leaning against his shoulder. I clenched my fists under the table. She acted like I was the hired help the entire evening. Rearranging plates, fixing his napkin, asking the waiter if they had anything light for her and low-fat for my boy. And then came the toast. She stood up, gently tapped her spoon against her glass. I'd like to raise a toast to my son. To the boy who never gave in to temptations, who stayed kind, loyal, honest. I'm so proud of you, my dear Artem. Her eyes locked with mine. Her voice, soft, but laced with venom. Something clicked inside me. The lid. The silence. The self-restraint. It all snapped. I stood up. Calmly. But firmly. If I'm the temptation, then at least I know I had some influence. But, Mrs. Alina, I'm done staying silent. The room froze. For years you've belittled me with passive aggression. Sent jars of food with instructions, criticized every move I made, called your son at night, knocked on our bedroom walls when we stayed at your place. She let out a shaky breath. The guests said nothing. And today, on his day, you tried once again to steal all the light. But that ends now. Artem is my husband. And if you can't learn to live with that, then you won't be a part of our life. Because this space is for two. Not three. Her eyes trembled. She lifted her glass, but her hand shook. I just wanted to help. Help is something you give when asked. You weren't helping, you were imposing. I reached for Artem's hand. He didn't look away, didn't pull his hand back. And he didn't take her side. It was the first victory. A small one, but a defining one. After that evening, she didn't call for 2 weeks. And when she finally messaged, it was only, "I didn't know you could be so cruel." I didn't respond. And you know what? For the first time, I didn't feel guilty. After that dinner, we didn't speak to her for several weeks. No calls, no messages, no jars delivered by bus. Even Artem, who always used to defend her, stayed silent. I didn't pressure him. Didn't ask if he missed her. I gave him space, just like I gave myself space. And that space was peaceful. We started living as if for the first time. Mornings, coffee, without the usual phone call, "Did you sleep well, my sweet boy?" Evenings, quiet, without complaints about pressure or heart palpitations. And for the first time, I saw lightness in him. He didn't have to choose. He wasn't torn between me and her. One evening, he came to me with a serious look on his face. "I've scheduled a session with a therapist." "You? Seriously?" "Yes. I want to understand why I let her have so much influence over me. Why I didn't protect you. Or us." I wanted to cry. But instead, I just hugged him, silently. The first contact from her came a month later. "Hi. I'm sorry if I crossed the line, but I didn't know you could be so harsh, Anya." "No, I'm sorry." Just blame, wrapped in performative regret. I didn't reply. She tried again. "I want to see Artem. Just for a minute. I'm still his mother." We talked it over together. And we decided, yes, but on our terms. 1 hour. In a cafe. No guilt. No pressure. No mentions of the good old days. She agreed. And that's when I realized. From now on, she had to ask to be part of his life. No more forcing her way in, only permission-based presence. We never stayed overnight at her place again. I never reheated another batch of soup with passive-aggressive notes. And most importantly, I no longer felt like a stranger in my own marriage. One evening, Artem said, "You know, all my life I thought she was just caring. But now I see. She was just afraid of losing control." "And you?" He smiled. "I'm not afraid of anything anymore." It took me years to understand. Not every kind smile is support. Not every "I'm just worried" is care. And not every "I'm your mother" is unconditional love. Boundaries aren't cruelty. Boundaries are self-respect. I didn't become harsher. I became more honest. First, with myself. Then, with my husband. And finally, with my mother-in-law. I didn't push her out of our lives. She did that herself, slowly over the years, by drifting further and further away from the simple truth. Her son is a grown man. His life is not an extension of hers. And I'm not her rival, I'm an equal part of his heart. I learned to say no. And more importantly, I learned not to explain it every time. Artem and I aren't a perfect couple. But we've become partners. Because now we build our family not on guilt, but on respect. Not out of obligation, but by choice. And you know what matters most? I'm no longer afraid to walk into the kitchen and cook something new for him. And even if he says, "Mom used to make it better," I'll just smile. Because now I know. His mother is the past. I am his present. And his future. How's your relationship with your mother-in-law? Share your story below.